Well, you've had the perfect storm really here on the South Island over the last year or so with the Christchurch earthquake, our own Pike River disaster here as well, and also we're in this massive recession that just keeps rolling on right around the world. So we've got to work it through, but from an earthquaking point of view, the repercussions and the ripple effect coming out of Christchurch is only hitting the rest of New Zealand now, and they're going to be massive because the government's talking about, through the Royal Commission of Inquiry into the earthquake, changing the earthquake code. Now we've got 34% as our strength code here in Greymouth. The government's talking about sending that up to 67%. Now 67%, we're an old town, we're one of the oldest towns in New Zealand, Greymouth is, so there's a lot of old buildings here, and it's been compounded over the years through the fact that the buildings are on Mawhera land, so nobody has really redeveloped Greymouth. There's been the odd building go up, but very, very few over the last 30 or 40 years. So predominantly, we've got buildings that are 50 to 100 years old. Now, we've assessed our own buildings, the public buildings that council and the ratepayers own. We've just assessed them, the History House, the Left Bank Art Gallery, the Harbour Board building, and a few others are only at 8% of the building code. Now, they shouldn't even be open by rights, so we've put up signs on those buildings saying you enter them at your own risk, but at the same time, we are really looking through council to, over the next month, come up with a solution. It's going to be costly, but we have to save the ratepayers' money, so we'll keep that cost down as much as we can. As for the private buildings in town, there's a huge amount of owners that are just grappling with this problem. A lot of them are indicating that they'll pay the money and do the buildings up, and that all depends on tenancies. If you've got good tenants, if they're government tenants, that type of thing, well, you can have the confidence to spend the money and they'll have a long-term lease with those tenants. Other buildings around town, and there's a lot of those buildings that have just got short-term leases, businesses that are struggling, they are really in a problem area because it's going to cost a huge amount of money to do these buildings up. For example, the Westpac building here in Greymouth on the main intersection, that building, Westpac have moved out of that until they do it up. They are negotiating with it at the moment. It looks like Westpac are going back into that building, but the word is that they have to put piles in the ground there. There's screw piles in the ground. So that's expensive stuff. Many other buildings in town will come down. We are going to, at the next council meeting, put a study out. We've got to get the budget vote for it of $20,000, and we're going to find from every building owner in town exactly what their plans are, because we have to strategically plan ahead. But one thing for certain, as Greymouth, as we knew it in the past, will change. 10 years from now, a lot of these old buildings will be gone. You have to be really conscious that the public have to be safe in these buildings, and the public demand that, and that's fair enough. So the Christchurch earthquake is starting to ripple out to the west coast, and keep in mind the west coast has always had a prediction of a big quake coming, so it's in our interest to look after the public by making sure people have their buildings secure, but that's going to come at a great expense, and I would say a lot of our buildings will vanish over the next 10 to 15 years.